Moments after the penalty shootout, the United States is into the semifinal of the Gold Cup. Should not have been that hard, but it wouldn't be the U.S. men's national team if they didn't make it that hard. Credit to Costa Rica. Let's get right into the instant reaction, and we got to start it off with Malik Tillman. Honestly, we got to start it off with Matt Freese and Damion Downs, the penalty heroes. We're going to break down from what we actually had. We're going to get into the tactical analysis, but Matt Freese, unbelievable. Like, not only did he make 3 penalty saves in the penalty shootout, but he got his hands on the 2 of the other 3. The only one he didn't get his hands on was the first one that went down the middle, and he got his hands on the one in regulation. So, Matt Freese, credit to you. Unbelievable performance. Really just like stood up and put the team on his back in a time we needed it. I mean, we had to make him make hero save after hero save in that shootout. Tolkien's miss was so bad. Berhalter's miss was so bad. This should have been over so many times ago. Matt Freese, huge credit to him. He was smart in the match in general. Could have done a little bit better probably on that second goal in terms of getting that first shot not back into the middle. But he was smart on bouncing balls. A really solid performance from Matt Freese. And this tournament is going to change his life the way it did for Matt Turner 8-9 years ago. Matt Freese is going to be the #1 goalkeeper when we get to the World Cup as of right now. That seems to be clear as day. And then, of course, Damion Downs, the dual national who agreed to be a U.S. national, who gets cap-tied in this tournament to the U.S. men's national team, scores the winning penalty, spent a little bit of time in his life growing up in Texas, wanting to be an American football player, and here he is in Minnesota, winning with the glory penalty. Unbelievable. Let's get into the actual breakdown of the game now with our instant reaction. Malik Tillman, yes, he misses that penalty in the first half. A bit unlucky. I think it's a really well-taken penalty. He gets the keeper to go the wrong way, and he hits the post. Very unlucky, but he was unbelievable in the second half. Obviously, that play into the assist was top-notch. Getting that into Ajimang's feet. Ajimang kind of gets it back to him, but Tillman with a beautiful touch around the defender, waits till De La Torre kind of brings that second defender away, and the perfect roll to Max Arfson to put it away, the perfect pace on it. Tillman is a different level of tactical and technical player than we have ever had. He is just different. When you play in the Bayern Munich Academy in your life and you spend 4, 5, 6+ years there, you become a different type of player. And with his athletic build and his technical skill, he just is a different. We don't have anything like that. I mean, that shot he almost scored in the end of regulation off the half volley was unbelievable. He just has a different way of doing things than anyone else in this team. The athleticism, the build, by the numbers, he was so good. 4 shots. He had the assist, 23 of 30 passing. He won the penalty that he then missed. He had a key pass, 2 of 2 on accurate long balls, 3 of 5 tackles. He won 12 ground duels in this match, just constantly trying to win the ball back high up the pitch. Such a good performance from Malik Tillman, especially in that second half. I really want to say that first half, there's a lot wrong with it. We're going to break down exactly what went wrong with it, but that was a big reason why Tillman didn't grow into the game. And the way that he came back from missing that penalty and changed the match for us was massive. Max Arfson. I mean, we knew this about him going into the tournament, but man, defensively, just a disaster, right? Like, that penalty was so bad. He almost gave up first a handball. Then why is he going to ground there from 5 yards away from the ball? Just a disaster. And then the second goal. How can you possibly let him beat you inside there? Make him get to the byline. Make him go to the byline and try to throw out their 40th cross of the match that hasn't reached a single person. You can't let him come inside. Yes, Luca De La Torre could have gotten a little bit closer there, but just Max Arfson is such a poor defender. But on the other side of things, how good was Max Arfson going forward in this match? Obviously, he had the goal and the assist. The assist was a little bit like nothing major, but a very nice and well-taken goal. I thought he did really well to get to the end line and put in some dangerous crosses that almost ended up in goals. 23 of 29 passing, 2 key passes, 2 of 2 shots on target, 2 successful dribbles, 2 accurate crosses. I really think we're going to have to figure out a way to make Max Arfson better in terms of his defensive abilities and protect him a little bit more. I mean, Anthony Robinson is kind of the better Max Arfson, right? Like, Anthony, for a while, was so poor defensively, but he's gotten so much better defensively, and he adds a lot of what Arfson adds going forward. So, Arfson will make the squad for the World Cup as that backup left back, but it's good to see him add what he can offensively, because defensively, man, does he take away. Pochettino, he takes one massive step forward in each match and then comes into this match and completely gets it wrong in the first half. He changes everything that was working well. The wide attacking, the wide center backs that we had, that was really the difference in the way we were playing, right? Like, this is our base lineup, but obviously this is where we get into in the match a little bit more. Actually, in this one, it was a little bit more where Berhalter was dropping in here. But what he did was, instead of having this back three where you get Ream out wide here, and then you get a player, it was Freeman, right, in the last match here, he instead goes Ream and Richards in kind of a more flat two-back, Adams here in the middle, and then we've lost all the width of this buildup. And so De La Torre kind of keeps having to come receive out here in the left half spaces and even in the left wing. Berhalter keeps having to receive in the right wing. These players on the Costa Rican side are able to close this down. Pochettino got it completely wrong in the first half. There's really nothing else to say about it. But he gets it right in the second half, helps us get that goal. Should have probably had a second or third second half goal, a third or fourth goal in the game early on there in that half. But nonetheless, we end up skating by, and Mauricio Pochettino continues to be the U.S. men's national team coach moving forward. Patrick Agyemang, the shortcomings are brutal to watch. He just really doesn't have the ability to get the ball out from under his feet, and when he gets into these good areas and pins players, he rarely makes a good pass. I mean, loses possession way too often, a little bit delayed on his runs. 13 of 17 passing, but it just doesn't really, if they're dispossessed, like it says 0 times, that's just because he's not actually ever controlling a ball when that ball comes into him in the channel. He lost 7 duels. Just overall, Patrick Agyemang doesn't have the technical ability to do what he's being asked to do. But the good news is, Ricardo Pepi, when he comes in to this side, he is going to be the perfect player. When this player is Ricardo Pepi, and they use kind of these little double tens to kind of protect the player, and Luna gets into the half spaces and open, and Pepi is able to hold this off, and you get Ream out wide, and he's able to play this ball into here, and you'll get 2 runners with Pepi. It's going to be night and day, because Pepi's able to receive and play this pass first time. He's able to receive, pin the defender, and hold the ball up for a little while before having to play it and let the play develop. So that will be absolutely massive when Ricardo Pepi comes in to the side, hopefully over the next year when he gets healthy again, and then obviously for the World Cup next year. As I mentioned already, Tim Ream, Chris Richards, getting them into these wide positions, getting them out just outside of the half spaces where they can play this ball into the half spaces and into the channels and breaking the lines. When they can get the ball out there and make these passes, it's a completely different side for us. That's just where we create every single good opportunity and how we get central access. Diego Luna, like, yes, he had that goal as a deflected goal, but he's just not able to get in those positions where he's at his best still. I know we're looking at an 8.1 here, but let's just actually look at the numbers. 3 shots, 1 of which is a deflected goal. The other 2 are very poorly taken. He multiple times was getting onto the ball out in this area and driving at the player and just losing the ball. He's not a 1v1 player. He's not a player who can receive with his back to goal. He's a player who needs to receive on the half turn and run at players. He can beat a man with the ball at his feet, but he can't beat a man out in isolation like this. Face up like this, he cannot beat a man. When he receives on the half turn here, and a man either has to come this way and he can cut into the box, or he's got, a guy running alongside him and he can ride contact, that's where Diego Luna is really, really good. But where Diego Luna is not good is 1v1s out wide and receiving so many times this pass. When Luca De La Torre was forced to come out wide and this pass comes into Diego Luna with a player on his back like this, the ball just recycles and nothing happens. That's not where we need Diego Luna. Goalkeepers. I already talked about Matt Freese, but I just want to talk about knockout football. Goalkeepers win knockout football matches. Keylor Navas made a massive save when we could have gone 3-1. Matt Freese, great penalty saves. It's such a different ball game having a goalkeeper who can change the way. I mean, just think about Iker Casillas, Neuer, Buffon, these great goalies. They won major tournaments because of the knockout rounds and how they played. And Keylor Navas did everything he could in this match to win it for Costa Rica, so hats off to him. And the last instant reaction before we get into the tactical analysis, Sebastian Berhalter, aside from the massive penalty miss, he has so many limitations, obviously, off the ball specifically. His physicality is not up to snuff. He doesn't release the ball quick enough. But his ability off the dead ball has created so much for us that it's almost worth him being out there. I think I'd still like to see Jack McGlynn instead of him. And I don't really love the whole, I'm going to fight every player on the other team and slow the game down the way that CONCACAF always is. I'd prefer less of that. You need to have some fight, and you want to, fight for your teammates. But every single time a player's on the ground, Berhalter's getting involved. It's time to probably go to Jack McGlynn. I don't think Pochettino will, but in my opinion, it's time to go to Jack McGlynn. But let's get into the tactical analysis here from the match in the win over Costa Rica. I mentioned Pochettino's fault in this first half, and it was so bad, and I recognized it immediately, right? I'm going to go back and look at what it looked like in all the previous matches. You had Ream out here, you had Richards here, and you had Alex Freeman. These were our back three in the 3-2-5, the 3-2-4-1. Adams and Berhalter were this two. I'm sorry. Adams and De La Torre were this two, or Adams and whoever, or De La Torre and Berhalter. And McGlynn was usually out wide here. This was what it was. And as I mentioned hundreds of times, the key was when Tim Ream can get into the wide areas and play this ball, especially Costa Rica played the same 4-4-2. You would think after having the 4-4-2 struggles in the previous match against Haiti that we would have realized that this is the key. But when they play this 4-4-2, you need to get wide to have the angle to play this pass. Because when Costa Rica's number 7, for lack of a better term, or right wing, steps up here, and the right back steps up on Arston, and the 10 steps in on Adams, the 10's probably kind of still floating over to Ream. The 6 steps up on Adams. This pass needs to be available. Or if the 6 kind of gets trying to chase Luna and Luna gets in here, this pass needs to be available. But when we do what we did in this match, which was wrong for so many reasons, but just to start in this first phase of buildup, when Adams is kind of in front of Ream and Richards, so it wasn't a flat 3, which we switched to in the second half. In the second half, Adams was flat with them, and they were able to get wide. But when Adams is here, and this ball is in Ream's feet, and he has to play it here, he doesn't have the ability to get out wide. He doesn't have that pass. What happens is the 10 forces the ball here. The 10 picks up Adams. The ball comes back here. 7 now is shielding this the Ream from getting outside. Then De La Torre, the pass is either to De La Torre here, Luna's completely covered by the 6, or you have to reset it back to Freese, and that happened over and over again. The other issue with this kind of setup was Alex Freeman and Sebastian Berhalter had really no idea where to be, because Freeman is really not useful just kind of playing out here. Freeman was kind of coming up to this way. Berhalter was trying to help in the buildup, so you kind of got stuck in a 2-3-4-1. So you had a flat 3, but against their press, the ball comes out to Ream. Really what was happening is the ball was coming into Adams, 10 was coming into Adams. Adams then tried to recycle it to Ream. 6 was able to step into De La Torre. This ball is not here because 10's coming towards the ball, 6 is stepping to De La Torre. You don't have this pass, there's no width. Then you have to recycle again. Berhalter would come way out wide here. They were able to press into here. Tillman once in a while was able to get a little bit of pocket of space into here. More often what happened was they were dropping, like 8 was probably staying here, 11 was kind of running at it, and the ball would come up to Freeman. Freeman would kind of cut back up into the middle, and then there was nothing. We could not find central access. What's funny about finding central access for this U.S. men's national team is it all comes from width in the buildup. And it's the same thing I talked about in the beginning, in the friendlies in this. It's about mini transitions. And the way we create mini transitions is getting these players wide, a center back here who can get the ball quickly and confidently here when this 9 presses, and you can get it into the center back where the striker on that side is not there. It forces these players to come forward, allowing this pass into here. And when you completely change that up and you have this defensive midfielder a little bit higher up in the pitch, it completely changes the way that we did it. Then what would happen was, still in this first half, is Richards came back into the center, Adams came out wide, and you're trying to break the press now with Berhalter and De La Torre in as this double pivot, and it just never worked. Ream would come here. They would kind of leave De La Torre alone. They would leave De La Torre free, And they would just set up a line here, stopping this pass coming in here. It was truly so mind-boggling to me as to why Pochettino would have changed the way that we were playing. We give up that early goal. We continue to kind of struggle. Once in a while, I mean, with a player like Arfsten, you're able to get the ball out wide, and Arfsten's able to carry. Multiple times he was bringing this right back all the way down, playing across in. Adjamang's dragging this guy. Tillman's crashing the back post. But it never really resulted in anything. Most frequently what resulted in is the ball going all the way across, coming to Freeman, and recycling. The other major issue is Luca De La Torre is in a position in this formation that is just way too important to be Luca De La Torre. And I've seen some people being like, who's created the most chances for the U.S. men's national team in the Gold Cup? Yes, Luca De La Torre is in the most important position in this setup, and I'll show you exactly why. When they did get into this flat three in the second half, which created the goal, right? Here's exactly how the goal came. We're in this flat setup. Berhalter's actually kind of alone here. De La Torre comes a little bit wider, so we're almost coming into this 3-1-5. The ball finally gets out to Richards out here, and he gets so wide that when this player comes to stop Freeman from creating and getting open down the wing, the 10 is trying to run with Berhalter. The 8 is trying to close this down, but also has to worry about Berhalter because the 10's pushing on Richards. Richards plays this ball into Tillman, back into Adjamang, back into Tillman. De La Torre runs right with the right back into here. The ball comes out to Arfsten, and you find yourself with a goal. That's exactly how it happened. Before, what I was mentioning with De La Torre is the importance of this player and the freedom of this player is a player who needs to be a ball carrier, because so much of what we do starts with Tim Ream. And as they start to close down on Tim Ream and try and prevent that line-breaking pass, this player, as I mentioned, ends up in tons of space and constantly is able to run. So let's just get back into this flat 4-4-2 that the defense is playing so we can see it a little bit better. But basically, what it looks like is when Tim Ream gets the ball here, Arfsten's holding the width. So they're trying to make sure this ball doesn't go to Arfsten. That's what the 7 is doing. He's kind of, the 9's pushing up onto Ream. The 7 is kind of making sure this pass doesn't happen. Luna is trying to get deep in between the lines with Adjamang, trying to pin this number 3 so he can run into space. So the 6, Costa Rica 6 is trying to stop this pass. This pass is always here. And now look, there's tons and tons of room. And so many times De La Torre, as you know, he's running. Luna's trying to get more central, dragging this player. De La Torre's running, and he just ends up playing this ball to Arfsten, and then it dies. If this player was a Diego Luna, or what it's going to be is Weston McKennie, what he'll be able to do is he can follow Luna with the ball, right? He can make sure this 6 comes onto him, and then Luna can pop here. The ball can spread out wide. The ball can come into Tillman. Once in a while, you'll find this central access here to your number 9 because you've got 2 defenders and 3 players. But Luca De La Torre doesn't have that mindset and that ability as a player, and so many times it slowed us down. The other interesting tactical thing that I'd like to talk about from this match was what it looks like when Downs comes on. I believe that this system, when Downs comes on, can be equally as effective as what we're doing in that 3-2-4-1, 3-1-5, 3-1-5-1, or 3-1-4-2 setup that we switched to. Throughout the game with the normal 11 out there. Because what happens is Adjamang is doing the same thing. And again, I don't love Patrick Adjamang. He has a ceiling. This is his ceiling. He struggles to have a big enough impact consistently, get himself into goal-scoring opportunities. He doesn't do enough of the goal-scoring aspect of a 9. But what he does do well is he's a big body and he drags defenders. And what he does is these 2 center backs, Adjamang kind of hangs out in between them while the ball is deep in possession, right? Let's just say the ball's with the goalkeeper. Tillman is coming more central. McGlynn also coming a little bit more central. Freeman's kind of coming up here. Adams is dropping into here. We're playing a solo pivot. This is when we get into that 3-1-4-2. And what happens when it's Downs instead of Tillman as this kind of second striker is as Adjamang is kind of slowly bouncing between these 2 guys, pinning them, the ball's coming around, there's such little need for this player to get on the ball. And it allows a Sebastian Berhalter to be this solo pivot in possession because Richards is going to play this ball, or if it's Ream, but let's say it's on the right side. Richards is going to play this ball into this channel. And Adjemeng, as Richards gets onto the ball, Adjemeng is going to start coming this way. The three is kind of going to follow him, the right center back. The left center back starts to get involved with Adjemeng. And as Adjemeng starts to pin this player, Downs makes this late run into here. Richards plays this ball over the top. And although Downs doesn't always control it, maybe this left back steps in and gets involved. Maybe the ball's overplayed and it's a header away by this center back. These two players are now in prime position to win the second ball because this four has been trying to stop this pass that we've been going over and over again, right? We consistently are talking about playing this pass from Richards or Ream into this line-breaking area between this line of four and this line of four. And so the left center mid and the left winger are so worried about closing this down that when this ball comes in over the top and it gets knocked down, you now have the opportunity to get McGlynn, or if it's on this side, Tillman on the ball. And you've created now, I mean, yes, as this ball's in the air, these guys are dropping back in. But what you've created is pretty much, I mean, for the most part, one of these guys is going to stay up. Berhalter's pushing in. You've pretty much created a 6-on-6, basically a mini 6-on-6 or a 6-on-7. But these players, these midfielders, are running back on the ball. So when Tillman picks up this ball here, and McGlynn's pushing forward, and Freeman's pushing forward, and Tolkien's pushing forward, they're chasing. And the center backs are occupied. You're going to get some free runners. You're going to get that opportunity Downs almost scored on, right? The ball, it came in on this side. Downs kind of knocked it down. It ended up in McGlynn's path. This four is so far behind Downs as Downs kind of picks up back into it. Adjemeng runs this way with the three. Downs gets over here, and this center back does eventually catch Downs. But Downs has an opportunity to get a shot away that he doesn't get away. And so I'm really intrigued by this setup, this 3-1-4-2, just so you can see it again in terms of what it looks like kind of a little bit more statically. I'm really intrigued by that, not only as a late game option, but the difference is when Tillman is in this position. So let's say it's Tillman in this position, and just for the example, this is Luna, right? What Tillman wants to do when this ball is back here with Ream, or let's say with Richards, just because it's the same example, as Adjemeng's pinning these players, what Tillman likes to do is kind of wait for the ball to break the lines. And so once that ball breaks the lines, and let's say it gets into McGlynn, Adjemeng's dragging this player, and Tillman's able to get the ball to feet, which is great. That is Tillman. Tillman is not going to make this secondary run into here. He doesn't want to receive this long ball and try and pin a defender. That's just not the player he is. It's to no fault of him. But I think with Downs, it offers us a long ball, which we're going to need against better sides in the World Cup. We're going to need a long ball. Is that going to be Pepe and Balogun potentially together? Pepe in that Adjemeng role and Balogun kind of doing that Damion Downs thing? It could be Tillman. They'll coach him into it. It could be Tim Weah. I think is really good so much in the past. If you've watched this channel, I know there's a lot of new people here, and thank you so much for subscribing and being a part of this community. Please, I really do appreciate it. It's been great to get to know so many more of you on YouTube during this part. But for those of you who are new to the channel, talk so much about how Tim Weah is so good at ball retention. He's so good at receiving the ball and helping us play out. When he plays on that right wing, he's so good at the long balls going to him and taking a good first touch and just allowing us to get a little bit of a rest when we're pinned in deep for a long time. So it'll be interesting to see if we go to that a little bit more, but we have skated by Costa Rica somehow. I mean, listen, Costa Rica had a really good tournament. 2 wins and a draw. This was a draw. They lost in penalties. A very strong, well-drilled team. Almost scored another fantastic goal to knock us out. Keylor Navas, obviously, if not the best goalie in CONCACAF history, one of the best goalies in CONCACAF history. Credit to them. But we got Guatemala now in the semifinal. That's a really favorable draw. We should be able to go out there for that match and dominate. I hope we're not going to see De La Torre, Adams, and Berhalter again. That would not be my hope in terms of the 11. I'd like to see the 11 look a little bit more like we've seen in the past. I'd probably take Berhalter out. I'd go McGlynn probably instead of Berhalter and get him out on the right side because that was Alex Freeman's worst game. Let's just be honest. It was Alex Freeman's worst game. I've been a huge fan of Alex Freeman, but he's not ready to have to play in this. And I mentioned it for those of you who are obviously new to the channel. I mentioned it in the last video. Alex Freeman, this right wing position is not truly a right wing position. The way we get Arfston all the way, right? Arfston, we get him all the way down here so much. This right wing position is really more of a playmaking position because we're going to get into a little bit more of a single pivot so much. And so Freeman can't really operate here. If Freeman was doing what Arfston was doing, but on the right side, he would be excellent. But that's not really where he is best. So I'd like to see it look a little bit something more like this. When you're looking at the 3-2-4-1, what it probably looks like more is like Reich Delatorre kind of gets up here and into this 3-1-5-1 a little bit more. McGlynn drops a little bit more into this little bit deeper space so he can play the ball into runners in front of him. I thought what Berhalter actually did really well in this match, especially in the lead up to the second goal, is he kind of dummied near Tillman. So he tucked in really, imagine McGlynn is Berhalter. He tucked in really close to Tillman when the ball kind of broke the lines and got in the way of this runner trying to track Tillman. So when Tillman played that 1-2 with Adjumang, he was on his own. But nonetheless, Guatemala, very favorable draw. Hopefully we can handle that easily. Take the match and make our way to the final. So thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel. We did get the win. Very exciting. Semifinal to come. A couple more matches for Pochettino, and this is all looking a little bit different than it was a month ago. One tournament can change a lot of things about the way people think about it. This is Yanks Abroad, if I haven't already said it. Make sure to hit that comment and subscribe and like button below us, and we'll talk to you Wednesday for the match. Going to do a stream for that one. So make sure to be there for the live stream. We'll be talking about the tactics. I'll have the tactic board up, and we'll get that win.